paying you.
I would call to order the Village of Westmont Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for May 8, 2013. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Pill,
Here.
Commissioner Van Buren, Commissioner Anton, Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Fleet. Here. Commissioner Fidesco here. Chairman Richard.
Here.
Okay. We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. We can conduct business. If you would please all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. While I have you all swearing, standing, you have to be sworn in this evening if you're going to give any testimony. So if you please raise your hand, that I swear that any testimony I give this evening shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
I do.
Okay? And I would ask that you silence any and all electronic devices. First item on the agenda is the approval of our February 13th, the minutes of our February 13th meeting.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Pill, seconded by Commissioner Thomas. Question on a motion. A roll call, please.
Commissioner Fleet,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Pill,
Yes.
Commissioner Fidesco votes yes. Chairman Richard.
Yes. Okay, the minutes of our February 13th meeting are hereby adopted. I would entertain a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Trustees, the March 13 minutes.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Pill, seconded by Commissioner Fleet. Question on the motion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Pill,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Fleet,
Yes.
Commissioner Fidesco votes yes. Chairman Richard.
Yes. Okay, the minutes as presented for March 13 are hereby adopted. Entertain a motion to recommend approval of our April 8th meeting when they are available. They're not available for this evening.
Correct.
Didn't see.
They're not available yet.
That's April 10th.
Is it April 10th? Okay, April 10th.
Is that when it was, April 10th meeting? Okay,
was.
this,
Okay. We'll fix that, and yes, they are not yet available.
how shall I phrase that?
No actions necessary.
No actions necessary? Okay. Next item, open hearing. New business, Planning and Zoning 13012. Paul McNaughton of McNaughton Development regarding the residential property located at 243 East 56th Street for the following. Item A was a preliminary plat of subdivision request to subdivide 8 residential lots, which I'm told has been withdrawn. Item B is a variation for lot coverage.
Good evening, gentlemen and lady. Paul McNaughton, McNaughton Development. I'm here with John Barry from our office, and Scott Schreiner is our engineer, civil engineer for the site. The whole gist of this variation request is that our detention pond that we're providing on the site is already adequately sized to accommodate a 40% impervious lot coverage on 6 of the 8 lots out at Kayla's Crossing, and that's what we'd be requesting. We're amending that request as well to apply the 40% to only 6 of the 8 lots. And the reason that we're requesting this increase as well is because we're dealing with some hardships in terms of sizing the homes to accommodate requests for customers. It's not a matter of making a 3,500 square foot house 4,500 square feet, not at all. It's just a matter of accommodating some features that some customers have shown to like, which is like 3-car garages, bay windows, a little bit increased length in their dining room or dinette, or features like that. So it's not like we're trying to take advantage of the code, and even if the Plan Commission recommends approval of the 5% increase, we're not most likely not going to use that 5%, and we're certainly not going to use it to just blanket increase the home by 5%. To hit on some of the variation standards, particularly hardship, I'm going to ask Scott to come up and kind of explain the situation out there that we have with the detention pond and how it's currently oversized it has more than adequate volume to allow us to go to 40% on 6 of the 8 lots.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
My name is Scott Schreiner. I'm with Design Tech Engineering. Our address is 9500 Bormet Drive in Mokina. As I'm sure most of you know, anytime you do a development site, you have to provide stormwater management. And the Village of Westmont, they've adopted DuPage County's ordinance as well. So over and above stormwater detention and retention that needs to be provided on site, we also have to meet what they call best management practices. And one of those best management practices are volume control best management practices. The purpose behind volume control best management practice, when rain falls on a site that has no impervious surface on it, the initial rainfall that falls gets absorbed into the ground. Theoretically, that rainfall amount is approximately 1.25 inches of water. The first 1.25 inches would absorb into the ground, theoretically. What volume control best management practice does is it says, for all your new impervious surfaces, you have to provide a volume within a detention pond or within a storage facility that has zero release from the site to store that initial 1.25 inches of rainfall. All right, and the reason for that is you got 1.25 inches rainfall, it all absorbs into the ground, at which point in time the ground becomes saturated. Now all the additional rainfall that falls on the ground runs off the site. Standard detention retention grabs that water and holds onto it, and then it releases it at a restricted release rate. But anytime you put more impervious surface on the ground, you generate more volume of runoff, which you can't get rid of volume. So volume's there no matter what you do. So what this volume control best management practice does is it says you take that first 1.25 inches that used to absorb into the ground, but now you have a driveway or a rooftop and it can absorb into the ground. You take that first 1.25 inches rainfall and you put it in a location where it can't leave the site. And the way we achieved that was our detention basin was dug deeper. And then what happens is under drains are put in below the surface. So as that bottom portion of the detention pond fills up with water, it doesn't leave the site until it hits our flared end section. And our flared end section releases it out, it hits a restrictor, and it's a controlled release rate. When we designed the basin, we designed our volume control to handle over 2 inches of rainfall, and we were only required to handle 1.25. The increase that McNaughtons are asking for, if you took the total impervious that they would be allowed to build on the site, our volume control can now hold 2 inches of rainfall. We're only required to hold 1.25. So when Paul says that our pond's oversized, it is. And it's oversized in the critical area, which is the area that controls the volume runoff, which there's really not too much you could do about. If you had a standard basin without volume control, there's nothing you could do about the increase in volume of runoff. But because we have the basin set up the way we do, the additional runoff that's occurring from the additional impervious surfaces is going to be contained on site. And then ultimately what happens, just to kind of finish the scenario, is after the pond draws down to the outlet, the flared end section, which drains it, it will over time continue to draw down below that outlet pipe because of the under drains that are in. And that will all, the theory again is that it recharges the groundwater system. So it's multi-purpose, the volume control best management practice. You're grabbing that first 1.25 inches rainfall and you're holding on to it. You're allowing it to percolate back into the ground to help recharge groundwater tables. And you're also cleaning the water by percolating it through the ground. So typically the biggest concern with development is the increase in volume. We have the appropriate size restrictor on our detention basin, so the flow rates are all within ordinance, or within the county's ordinance, or within Westmont's ordinance. People downstream will never see an increase in flow rate because of the restrictor. But the argument that in the past, before DuPage County and all the municipalities in DuPage now have adopted it, the problem with detention has always been you couldn't control the volume, the increase in volume. Well, now with this new method that's being required by the county, you are addressing the volume issue. And in our case, the way we designed the pond, the way that we built the pond, we have excess volume there. So the increase that they're asking for is accounted for already in the detention basin in that respect. So I know it's probably a little bit confusing, so if anyone's got any questions, feel free.
With the last rain, did you tap the bank to the west of your?
I was not on the site. The pond is not 100% complete and built and ready to be submitted for as-builts, so I do know that. So it's not 100% in operation right now. I don't know, do you guys know if it overtopped during the last rain event?
It did not. I live across the street. It did not.
It did not overtop?
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Any staff, any questions? No?
I would just like, I'd just like to add that.
If you would at the podium,
Oh,
the
sorry.
home audience cannot hear you.
We developed the subdivision over at Hidden View, and we built the homes there, and we were allowed to put 40% impervious on those lots. The lots over at Kalis Crossing are bigger, and we knew going in that we were only going to have 35% impervious lot coverage to cover with. So we thought that we would be okay with the 35%, but we did run into some problems with some sales over at Hidden View because of these features that these customers wanted, and that's one of the major reasons that we're asking for this here at Kalis Crossing. So, thank you.
Okay, will anybody from the public speak on this issue? If you'd please give us your name, sir.
My name's Dave Crooks. I live across the street, and I'm a board member at Fairfield 1, which is the other side of Oak Street. And I think all of our houses were built with the 40% rule. At that time, most of them were built 15 years ago. And I think our concern was that it would, if he was going to go greater than 40%, it would change the character of the neighborhood. Obviously, if he's going to stay within the 40%, the character of the neighborhood does not change.
May I ask a question? What is your address, please?
529 South Oak.
Okay, so you are right across the street then.
I am.
Yep.
I'm just part of the retention pond and then the two houses that will be to the left.
Yep. Great. I appreciate your comments and feedback. Thank you.
Yep.
But their detention pond, even though it's not finished, it did not overflow the bank to the west?
No, it had probably 2 more feet to go.
Okay.
Okay, during the worst part of the rain. As he said, it's not completely finished, but it isn't completely drained. It's kind of a cesspool right now.
Sure.
And I know that, as he said, it's not completed.
Okay.
Chuck May, 521, right across from the pond. The pond did not, it actually took on water from the wetlands behind it. To be precise, it was a waterfall type action coming in from the west end of the retention area from the wetlands behind it.
Oh, okay.
So it was actually drawing in from that area.
So it's acting as an additional storage area?
I would say so, yes.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Yes, ma'am. Now, you came in late. Did I swear you in?
No, you did.
Okay.
Sorry.
I was watching.
Okay.
I swear that any testimony I give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
I do.
And your name, please.
I'm Sue Anderson, 537 South Oak. I'm just south of the pond, and I built my house with the full 40%. So I have the biggest house on the street right now. So I don't have a problem with the change in the character of the neighborhood as long as we don't have a water issue. So I don't feel the 40% is going to make their house look a lot huger than what we already have. And
So you
Greg's been in
think
my house, so he knows.
it would more fit in with what's existing then?
We did exactly what he was talking about. We added a third floor finished. We added 2 feet to the front of the house, 2 feet to the back of the house, so that we had as much on the land space that we had possible, so that we had the bigger dining room and the bigger kitchen and those kinds of things. So the outside doesn't look huge and massive, but the inside has plenty of space. So I think that's what you're planning, and if that's the case, then I'm good with it.
Thank you very much. Any further comment? If you would, sir.
I just have one question, and Chuck May, 521. Is this a post, the one home, 520, is that built to 35 or is that built to 40?
They were built at 35.
Okay, just curious. Thank you.
That was to be my question too, sir. Okay, we'll close the public comment. Staff?
Our engineer is working with Mr. McNaughton to confirm the 40% for each of the 6 lots and review the best management practices for those individual permits. We're confident that the engineering numbers will be supported for the variation, and our staff will be reviewing the detention volume and impervious surface before final permits are issued.
So then when the ordinance is written, it will be for 6 lots, and will it enumerate which lots they are?
Yes. Yes, the corner lot is much larger, so it probably doesn't need to be oversized. One of the lots is the detention lot, and then another lot, as they mentioned, has already been built, so it doesn't need the 40%.
Okay. Well, let's start with Commissioner Thomas, if you would.
That was answered my question about the 8 lots and only needing this for the 6. And as far as I understand the explanation of the engineering of the retention, and glad that the neighbors got what they needed and are okay with other people getting the same. Thank you.
Commissioner Pill?
Thank you. Yeah, based on staff comments and the comments of the neighbors and the general character, I've been in that area quite a bit. I have no problem supporting this. No questions.
Commissioner Fidesco?
I don't have any issues with this at all. I live around the corner from there. I actually live in Fairfield 1 as well. Yeah, I had the same questions before I received my packet, and once I received it, I understood what you were looking for, and I don't have an issue since my house was built. Well, I don't have 40% lot coverage, but even with the oversized deck, which was put on after the fact, I'm still under 40. So it's going to take a lot to fill 40%. So,
Commissioner Fleet?
questions?
When the retention pond is finished and all the landscaping is in, are you anticipating any influx from the wetlands area, such as we saw or have heard as a result of this last storm?
Yeah, we're not actually. Another consultant was used to do a watershed study and study the flows in the wetland and the high water levels of the wetland. Because of the wetland, there was a depressional floodplain associated with that had to be permitted through the county, so the county reviewed that study as well. And the high water level that was generated, that is anticipated to be seen during a 100-year event, would not backflow into the pond, into our pond, so we don't anticipate that being the case. Storms are tricky, and you design for one particular event. And if you get any type of variation in there, you can possibly see that, but we're not anticipating that on a regular basis by any means.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I would just add the other thing is that as a part of the DuPage County permit process, you have to prove to them that you do not indirectly impact the wetland. If you do indirectly impact it, you have to go through an entire other series of permit process. And the threshold for that is 20% of the tributary area of the wetland. We're actually, our property, our 2.4 acres, is only 13% of the tributary area of the wetland. So the additional impervious that we're going to be generating is so minuscule that the county did not even make us go through their indirect impact analysis. So.
Okay, thank you. Is it?
The questions I had were, I don't know if you're aware, our next item on our agenda is we're to consider pervious pavers, et cetera, and perhaps if you were to consider pervious concrete that is out there now, I'm told, pervious pavers for driveways, for walkways. This might even help you that if you are stuck with, if you do happen to build a 40% home and someone says, I can't live without a large patio or what have you, this may help you stay below the 40% and still accede to these people's demands. So it's a thought.
I agree, and I would just comment though that the impervious pavers that I think that the staff has recommended that
Pervious, not impervious.
the pervious pavers that staff has recommended as a part of this text amendment, they're a particular type of paver, and some might question the aesthetics of the paver. Additionally, they're quite expensive as well. So while I think that that is a good recommendation, and it's something that to consider, part of the reason that we are also in here requesting the variation is because these pervious pavers are approximately 2.5 times the cost of standard concrete, and the look of them, we haven't really done a lot of due diligence on the look of them. I know you can do like a gravel between. You can also do a sand between, but those are some of the drawbacks to the pervious pavers. But it's definitely something to consider.
My other question would be as to right now, what do you plan on building size-wise of your homes? How much lot coverage are you anticipating building, inclusive of patios, pools, what have you? Do you have any ideas on this whatsoever? Mainly I'm concerned is how is the village going to protect themselves that someone's at 40% and they want all of these additional patios, et cetera. So what is our protection? What are you envisioning for us?
I know we just did, we're doing our individual lot plans as well. They're going for construction permit. And the plan we just completed meets a lot of the requirements that they're being asked for, which is a 3-car garage, a little bit bigger patio, an expanded kitchen area. That particular plan is still under 37%, just barely under 37%. So based on what I know that they build, I haven't sat with their customers like they have, but we've got 2 lots out there now that are at 35 or less. The next one that's going to go in for permit is probably going to be just under 37% if we get the 40% variance. And that would leave, now we're down to 5 lots that would only be at 40%. And I anticipate, based on what I've been seeing, somewhere in the 37 to 38% range, which leaves a little bit of leeway for people if they ever want to expand patios in the future.
So you've got 3 lots tentatively under contract, and these are the averages, what you're coming up with?
Well,
Coverages?
the first 2 were done working basically at 35%, so they weren't even allowing people to expand to a 3-car or expand kitchens and things. But the newest one, knowing that we were coming here asking for a variance, they worked out the plan, which includes a 3-car, and that one's under 37%. So I would anticipate that's going to be more the average on the remaining 4 or 5 lots.
Yeah, I would agree. And the biggest control I would say that the village has is market. I don't think that you can't really get much bigger than that and still have a price point that's achievable in the subdivision. So we have to be careful of that in terms of spec building, and our customers have budgets that we need to meet for them as well. So I think that's a major control as well. The other problem is just adding a 3-car garage. As Scott knows, it's not just adding a 9-foot stall. You're adding more driveway as well.
Just to your point, the village has encountered this problem on many occasions where houses are built right up to the maximum lot coverage, and they may show a standard, 8x8 patio in the back, and then the customer gets in there and says, well, it's not what I wanted, and the builder is off and gone at that point, and then the homeowner's coming back to this commission and looking for a variance. So I think collectively we're trying to nip that in the bud, make sure you guys are aware, and make sure your plans show that you work with your homeowners, and the plan should show what the patio or decking is going to be.
Yeah, and we definitely fit those in and try to show what their customers want to see. They have those conversations with their customers. But in terms of pervious pavers, you asked a question earlier, I think that's a great idea for for the municipality to have those kinds of ordinances in place so that when you do run into those situations, at least your residents do have options. And in our particular subdivision, anytime you do a pervious paver, you have to have under drains for it to work properly. And in our subdivision, all of our lots have access to the storm drain system, so they can physically install a pervious paver patio and be able to make the connection appropriately, where you probably don't have that everywhere in town. So that's something you need to consider too, because pervious pavers don't really function right without an under drain system on them.
Jill, did that home on Grant, 126 Grant, did they have an under drain system, or did they just drain into the sub?
No, they didn't have an underground system.
Okay, I have no further questions. Since we have a request for a variance, we need a reading of the findings of fact.
McNaughton Development regarding 502, 504 through 532 Oak Avenue, request for a variance to allow lot coverage greater than the 35% maximum allowed in the R3 residential district. The property in question cannot yield a reasonable return if permitted to be used only under the conditions allowed by the regulations in the district in which it is located. Findings of fact. This variance is required to meet the demands of potential home purchasers within this subdivision. The lot coverage will not exceed 5% of the zoning ordinance requirements on any lot, and the applicant cannot yield a reasonable return without this variance. Criteria number 2, the plight of the owner is due to unique circumstances. This subdivision is unique in that the stormwater detention area was sized to accommodate a lot coverage of at least 40% on each lot. Accordingly, there will be no adverse stormwater consequences if this variance is granted. Criteria number 3, the variation if granted will not alter the essential character of the locality. The proposed homes with a 40% lot coverage will be consistent with new homes in the surrounding area, will have amenities to enhance the aesthetics of the area, and otherwise will not alter the character of the surrounding neighborhood.
If you agree with these findings, please raise your hand. We are unanimous in agreement. The findings of fact for a variance are hereby adopted. Under Planning and Zoning, item 13012, I would entertain a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Trustees. Item B, a variation for lot coverage.
And can we specify that that is not to exceed 40% and applicable to 6 of the 8 lots?
Very well put.
So moved as amended.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Pill, seconded by Commissioner Thomas. Question on the motion. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Pill?
Yes.
Commissioner Fleet?
Yes.
Commissioner Fidesco votes yes. Chairman Richard?
Yes. All right, sir, your application for a variance, you have our recommendation, and staff can tell you when you go before a Thursday evening committee of the whole.
Thank you very much.
Go forth and sell a lot of homes. Thank you, sir. Under Planning and Zoning, item 13024, Village of Westmont, regarding a zoning code text amendment as follows. A, amend Appendix A, Article 14 of the Westmont Zoning Code regarding lot coverage.
Good evening.
Good evening. Did I swear you in?
Yes. As you know, we've been seeing a lot of lot coverage variations over the past couple of years. We saw 5 in the past year, and some of the homeowners were very creative in how they addressed the situation. Some of them did pervious pavers, some of them installed dry wells, some of them removed impervious surface, and we've gotten a lot of calls over the years too. Some of the requests you haven't seen where people asked if they installed pervious pavers for, say, a driveway or a patio, if that would be approved, and we weren't able to do that, but the Planning Commission has been very supportive of those requests when we brought them forward for variations. As the McNaughton developers noted, not everybody likes the ones that are totally pervious. We've seen a lot of pavers that don't necessarily allow the water to infiltrate, and we haven't allowed those to be used, or we haven't recommended those for approval. Our planning engineer has a specification for pervious pavers that she thinks meets the requirement and would allow 50% infiltration, and she supports using that for this text amendment request. I brought some pictures of a homeowner last year that installed an entire brick paver driveway over on North Grant, which I think is a very positive application. And then on the next side shows the pervious pavers that he did in his rear yard for a patio installation. And I talked to his sister, requested a variation last month, and she said that they did not receive any stormwater impacts as a result of the paver installation. So what we are requesting is for pervious pavers to be counted as 50% of lot coverage, similar to decks. Right now, if you have a 200 square foot deck, it's counted as 100 square feet, and we would recommend that pervious pavers be counted the same way. And I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Garrett, seeing that there's no public, we'll close the public comment. Let's start with Commissioner Fleet.
So when we install pervious pavers, are we including all the underbedding?
Yes, that would be required as well. That would be part of the application or the specification that we pass out to homeowners. They would have to have the gravel or sand underlay as well.
Okay, that's my question.
Okay, Commissioner Fidesco.
And these would be allowed for both driveways and patios. Do you see any other application?
We'd probably recommend them for concrete sidewalks sometimes if you're over. I think that, maybe I would just say driveways and patios. That would be the biggest installation.
Okay. All right.
I would say.
I don't know if a basketball court's a good idea, good example, but I think any sort of impervious surface, potentially, you could use this.
Sure. Yeah, I would say that
basketball court, yeah.
The example that I used over on North Grant, I think that would probably be the largest installation that you'd see. And you can tell he did the entire driveway, he did walkways, and he did the patio, so.
Okay, don't have any other questions.
Commissioner Pill?
I really have no questions. This is something I think many of us have asked for, and I appreciate the efforts that it took to put all this research together and to bring it forward for us to review. I thought it was a great write-up. I thought you guys did a nice job with that, and I support this 100%.
Commissioner Thomas?
So in order for anybody coming in to take advantage of the 50% rating, it has to be one of the recognized from our engineer to qualify for that. They just can't go out and get whatever somebody claims to be pervious. They have to show what product they're going to be using.
Right, and we've seen that. We've had people put in patios that are larger than what was approved, and they've said, well, but they're pervious pavers, and we've taken them to our engineer and researched them and found out that they're not, or that they didn't do the proper underlay. So we are trying to research that, and as a part of this text amendment, we'd like to hand out those materials in advance so that people know.
So you can educate them before they...
Right, and we'll be open to other products too. I mean, our engineer will research it if new things are being developed, so.
And to your point, if I may, I passed out a draft ordinance that has the proposed change in definition in there about permeable pavers, and it states in the ordinance that it's those permeable pavers is allowed per the specifications of the Community Development Department, as may be amended from time to time. So the public's on notice. It's not just any permeable pavers, it's the ones we approve.
Right. That's all I have.
Thank you.
One question I have, and I would echo the sentiments of Commissioner Pill in that the board, many members of the board have been desirous of this for a long time. It's a very good idea. One question, you're allowing pervious pavers for sidewalks, and does Village anticipate using pavers for sidewalks? We got to stay with the concrete. If so, would the Village itself go with pervious concrete?
I think
For their sidewalks, if they're going to do
it's
sidewalks
definitely
down
something
it?
that we could talk to Public Works about, as long as it meets ADA requirements. I don't see any reason why we couldn't, as long as we can budget for it.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea.
Right. As Mr. McNaughton brought up, it is more expensive than, traditional asphalt and concrete,
Yeah.
obviously.
But I'm told the pervious concrete is not.
Okay.
All right. Any further comments, John?
Yeah, just a question, and it's probably, excuse my ignorance, but we talked about permeable pavers.
Yes.
You mentioned permeable concrete.
Concrete.
I don't know what other products may be out there besides paver bricks.
Right.
Should we mention permeable pavers,
And
concrete, or other permeable materials, something along those lines, so we're a little more
Yeah,
broad?
I think that would be fair, just because so many products are coming out now, and we would just have to ensure that they meet our requirements.
I wasn't even aware there was permeable concrete.
Yeah, it's been advertised. I think Prairie Concrete is one that does it. Actually, pavers themselves are not permeable.
Right, it's the cracks
space between them.
Right.
Right,
That is, allows the infiltration of the water.
correct.
All right. No further comments. Under Planning and Zoning Item 13024, I would entertain a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Trustees, Item A, amend Appendix A, Article 14 of the Westmont Zoning Code regarding lot coverage.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Pill, seconded by Commissioner Fidesco. Question on the motion? May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Fleet?
Yes.
Commissioner Fidesco votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Pill?
Yes.
Chairman Richard?
Yes. You have our recommendation.
Thank you. We will go forward at the next available meeting.
Any members have anything to bring up? Staff?
Greg, we were talking about something. We were going to check the attendance for next month. Greg won't be available. Is everyone else?
That's what my understanding is.
Okay, everybody else we're good? Okay.
How come?
He said he's not getting paid, he's not going to show up. Strike that.
I think that's all we have.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion by
Second.
Commissioner Thomas, seconded by Commissioner Fidesco. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.